Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today's episode a bit different. We're going to be doing an auto drive testing day where I'm going to be trying to set up a course from the sugar beet field over here out to a sugar mill which I've put in place over there. Now this is my no man's land map, and it's an earlier save, a backup from about, I think maybe episode 40. It's after this field was obviously harvested for cotton, but I don't think we've harvested the big cotton field yet. I've just copied the game save and put it into a different space on my farming simulator. So what I've done already is I've set up a loop with using auto drive, where I've basically set a loop up from that big turning circle before you get to the shop that runs all the way up the main road there, past all the productions, loops around just past those trees and back down again. So what we're going to have to do first is put in another course which links up this field or this road out to the main one. So we'll just jump into this Deutz here, and as you can see on the right is the auto drive menu. Now if I click my middle scroll wheel, it brings my cursor up and you can access all the features. So I've actually made this a bit bigger from what the default is. I think it's 150% bigger, and if we click on here, as you can see, GUI 150%. In terms of other things I've changed, I've put the line height, I've put that to above tractor so it's easier to see. And in here I've knocked off, so the restrict pathfinder to field and unloader to field. I've put those both to yes because I believe that helps when manoeuvring between vehicles and out to your path. Avoid fruit is on, yeah, so we don't want it driving over the crops. And I've knocked off the automatic refueling and repairing, automatic repairing. So I think that's all I need to do for now. Right, so what we'll do is we'll just start up and we'll just set up this path along this road here. And what we need to do is we need to go to the record button. Now if I left click, it will start a single direction path, and if I right click, it'll set up a two-way path. Now I just want to have single way pathing for each, for all of these so far. So I'm just going to click record with the left mouse button, and you see this little, I don't know what we're going to call them. We're going to call them pins. And I'll just get rid of my mouse. And what I'll do is I'll just drive up here, and you'll see it start to lay a course behind me. And we'll just run all the way up the right hand side of this road. And we'll find somewhere to make a loop to turn around. I think we'll just do it here. And then we'll head all the way back down to the main path, and we'll stop just before we join up with it. Might actually have been better if I'd started at the end of this road here. Right, so as you can see, the other road that I've put in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to stop the recording, and then I want to join up to this path. So what you do is you click the two pins that you want to connect, and you have to do it on when it's a single direction path. You need to click the way you want to go. So I click this one, then one of these, and that would mean it will follow that way. If I'd clicked on here and then to here, it would have made the direction the opposite way, which wouldn't have worked. So I'll click on there and I'll click on here, and then what you can do is with your mouse scroll wheel, if you turn it, you can create like a nice bend in the path. So we'll just do that. I won't make it quite as steep as that. In fact, maybe if I go to that one, that'll work better. There we go. And I think you can add pins, and you can kind of move them around. If you just right click on it, you can kind of move them around and make them fit a little bit better. So we want to go back up to the start of this path. So I'm just going to do it from about here. So again, we'll just click record, with the left mouse button, and we'll drive up this side of the road. Is there going to be another one? There we go. Alright, so we'll stop recording, and again we'll just join up this one to that one, and then we need to do the other end, so we'll drive back down. Alright, now for some reason it seems to have actually connected up here, and I don't want that, so I want to remove a waypoint. So I think if I click that one there, has that removed it? I'm not sure. Right, that seems to have... So delete a waypoint, not that one. Let me delete that one. Delete that one. There we go. So it seems to have got rid of them, so I'll just connect these two up, give them a bit of a bend. There we go. This is one of the sort of first times I've really had a go with auto drive, so bear with me with this one. So what I want to do is I want to connect like from here over to there, and we'll put in a nice radius turn. Right, so basically what that's doing now is giving a route for a tractor to follow and a direction. But what it needs is waypoints to go between. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the unload point for the sugar mill. So we'll just head up to the sugar mill and I'll show you how we're going to do that. Right, so this is the sugar mill here, and as you can see out the front is where the sugar pallets would spawn, and I've put this little road in around the back, which should take us to our unload point, which is here. So this is kind of the route that we need to be driving for the tools to be able to unload. So it is only going to be a one-way path, but that shouldn't be an issue for what we want to do. So I'm going to bring it in quite wide. I'm just going to start recording from here. Right, now I don't know why it's done that. How do I don't know how to stop it from doing this, connecting to this path. There must be a way of doing that. Well, we'll figure it out at some point. So I'm just going to start recording here, and we'll just drive around. I'll just bring my position round. Right, so I think to there will do, and we'll stop recording, and then like before I want to join up that one to that one and give it a bit of a radius, and then we'll go and do the same for the road in. So I think I'll pick maybe this one here to that one there. There we go. Right, so we've got another route in now around to the sugar mill. So what we need to do is create the trigger to let it tip. And one of the pieces of advice that I seem to have been quite regularly given is you want to drive quite the way past where your trigger point is for your unload. But what you also have to imagine is what will be your longest tractor trailer unit. So say we had the lorry with the big cramp trailer on, you'd probably want to go a fair way past where the actual trigger point is. And then what we'll do is we'll use this button here to create and edit a target. And what we want to do is we want to call it sugar mill. And there we go, that pin there now is known as the sugar mill. So when you tell a tractor or whatever to go to the sugar mill, it'll find the best way to end up at that point. And what it'll also do is, as it comes into the sugar mill, it'll slow right down. As soon as it gets the message to unload, once the trailer is in the right position, it will just unload and then carry on, even if it hasn't reached the actual sugar mill waypoint. So now we need to head over to the field and we'll create the field waiting point. Okay, so we're going to start from, I think, from here. So again, press the record button. It's probably going to connect to this one for whatever reason. So I think if we just delete that there. And then we're going to drive up to kind of the side of this field here. So I think to about here will do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one. How do I do this now? We're going to call it CP5, which is the cosplay custom field that I've made for this sugar beet field, and I'm just going to call it the weight. And then we need to set off from here and somehow join it back up with the main auto drive route. So we'll just do something like that to there, and then we can stop recording. Join these two up, put a bend in, and do the same for a way into this course. So I think I'll pick this one here, make it to there, and then that should be everything we need. I think you can just like right click and you can drag them over just to make them a bit more of a neater route. Not that I think that's any better. Right, so that's our course set up. Now we've got to try and get the combine to start working in the field, or the combine, the beet harvester working into the field, and get the tractor trailer combo set up to unload it whenever it gets full. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the beet harvester onto course play for this field. So we just do it the normal way. We go to course play. As you can see also in the map here, these fine green lines, these are our auto drive routes that we've put in. So they make it a bit easier to see. I don't know if you can knock those off in the map so they're not shown, but for the moment it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so we're in the Panther, I want to create the job, and I want course play field work. Let me just move the auto drive out the way. The field position is this one. I'm not entirely sure what target position means. I don't know if someone can maybe tell me in the comments, but sometimes I put it in, sometimes I don't. It doesn't seem to make much difference. So we'll open the course generator. It's a 2.7 meter width. We've got one tool being used, so there's only one harvester. I'm going to do 3 headlands. We're going to start work on the headlands, and I'm going to have sharp corners. Now, field center, I think this is something worth trying. There's a few settings. You can have up and down, you can have spiral, racetrack, and land. And I think lands is the one that we want to have. I'll try and explain a bit. And this here, rows per land, 6 rows is I think that's the minimum. No, maybe not. 0 is the minimum. But I think what that does is it gives how many rows it does before it turns around. So we'll just generate that field work. So what basically Lands is doing, and it's good for combining, is it'll do the headlands and it'll unload whenever. But when it comes, what it'll do is it'll divide the field up into strips of 6, I think, 6 paths. So it'll cut down here, say, and then what it can do is it'll work sort of from, like, work its way in so that the discharge pipe is always in a harvested bits of field. So that makes it a lot easier for your unloading your tractor to get in without running over any crops, especially if you're doing the unloading, whereas cosplay doesn't destroy crops. If you were wanting to unload yourself, then that's the ideal thing to do. So we're just going to start that job, and the panther will fold up and it'll head off to start doing it. So the bit I'm not entirely sure about is how to set up the combine to recognize the tractor trailer. But what we're going to do here in the cosplay box is we've got this where it's a road now. That's sort of a drive to, so we're going to change the drive mode. And what we're going to do is find the unload combine. And your target pickup point will be CP5 weight, and we want to deliver it to the sugar mill. And then we just simply press the go, and the tractor should drive up to CP5 weight and wait for the combine to call it. But as you can see here, it's saying no harvester with same target found. So we need to skip over to the harvester. And this is the bit I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to do. So do I just do CP5 weight? That seems to get rid of it, but I haven't started anything, I haven't done anything, but it just seems to work. And what it's going to do, if we go into here, we're in the harvest section, you've got this pre-call level, and you can set this to whatever you want, I think. I'm going to leave it at 60%, and what that'll do is when the harvester reaches 60% full, it'll call the unloading tractor to come over. So when you've got a big field like this, it gives it plenty of time to get to you if it's at the other side of the field, so the combine should never really stop. If your field's a bit smaller, perhaps you'll want to make that a bigger number, so make it nearer to 100%, and if your field's even bigger than this, you probably want to reduce it for the opposite reason. So now we're just sort of waiting for the combine to get full, and I'll come back when we're getting a bit closer to that. Okay, so we're back here now. We're coming along to the third edge of the field, and we're at 53%. This probably won't be the best example because we're actually running right past the tractor as it gets to 60%. But we'll just say that's 59%. So at 60%, the pipe should come out. It does, and you see the tractor fires into life, and it'll run up behind the harvester and get itself into position. Right, so I'm not sure why. I think that might be that unload thing sticking to the fields. I think that's why it's doing this. But I think what the tractor should do as well is when the harvester comes to do a turn at the edge here, it should hang back and give it room to maneuver without crashing into it. Yeah, like that. So it's hung back because it knows that the combine's got a move to do. Right, so hopefully the tractor should spring into life again. And I'm not quite sure how it's going to unload. I don't know if it'll... Well, the harvester should move over onto the second headland, so maybe there'll be enough room for it to move in. Oh, here comes the tractor again. So I know with courseplay, when a harvester gets full, it'll often sort of cut its way into the field a little bit to allow some room for the unloading tractor to get in. So I wonder if we're going to see something similar this time. Okay, so the harvester is full, so I'll tell you what we'll do. Oh, hang on, the tractor's moving again. So let's see what's going to happen here. So it just seems like the tractor's going to drive off the field now for some reason. Well, here we are. It's probably going to be a full trailer. Alright, so we've left 4,000 in the harvester there. So what we're going to do is we'll jump into the Deutschfahrer now and we'll see what that does. So it's waiting for room. It's saying unload combine, waiting for room. So I'm guessing what it might be is this restrictor field. Right now it's driving to the unload point. So if we just go back to these settings here, and there was the restrict pathfinder to field, restrict unload at the field. So perhaps if I knocked that off, then it would have driven up alongside it a lot earlier. But at least that way, when you, like here where we've got trees at the side of the field, it's not going to go and get stuck in a sort of a forest area. Right, so we'll just see where this goes. Kind of hoping. Right, so it looks as though it's found a path now to the main road. And it's just going to drive all over rocks, which is not ideal. It just wants to drive over every rock. I have no idea what it's doing. But it seems to have found a way to get to the path. It must have selected it earlier back up there, and it's just going to run around this loop. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it negotiated that junction okay. We just have to hope now it'll make it to the sugar mill and to the unload point. Okay, so this is a bit, hopefully it's going to aim for the sugar mill point, but as soon as it sees the trigger to unload, it should unload. There we go. That's perfect. So hopefully if I had the big Arctic unit, the big lorry and the crampy trailer, there will be enough room there for it to do that as well. Right, so it should say it's going to drive to the unload point. There we go. Drive to unload point. Driving to destination. So fingers crossed, this is going to work quite well. I'm not exactly... I thought it would have worked a bit better in the field than it has done. If anybody has any ideas or any better solutions to what I'm doing, please get them in the comments. There's lots of videos you can watch about this, but they never really seem to suit your application. So, you know, you're always just trying to make up a little bit from what you've seen. Okay, so it's made it off now to the CP5 weight, which is great. So we'll just go and have a quick look at the beet harvester and see what level that's at. Alright, so it's at 72%, so with a bit of luck this tractor should come hurtling up and get the combine unloaded, or the beet harvester unloaded. So I've no idea why it's not just coming to unload. Perhaps there's not enough room. It's backing up now, but I don't know why it would do that. It says it's waiting for room. I think perhaps it is this issue here, restrict the unloaders to field. So let's just, for now, let's just knock that off. See if it makes any difference. As soon as the beet harvester sets off down here, I'd expect to see the tractor fire up and move in. Right, so it's got a full grain tank. Here it goes. I didn't do anything there. So it's just driving to the combine. Okay, so that's the trailer full. So now it's just waiting for room, and then it should set off and find its way back to the main auto drive routes. There we go. You see it's found a way to the route, so hopefully it'll just join this and be straight on its way back to the main course. So it's probably going to plan a route to the sugar mill, driving to unload point. There we go. So I could probably have picked a slightly bigger trailer, something that would unload maybe most of the combine at the 100% fill. But I just wanted something small that's going to be easy to get around the fields and not be too cumbersome in these tighter turns, especially around the sugar mill. But if the tractor had unloaded when it was called, I don't think the beet harvester would have stopped by now. It would have continued to go. So I'm a little bit unsure why it's doing that. So we'll either figure it out, or maybe one of you can let me know in the comments. But at the moment it's working quite well. I haven't had to do any intervention, and ultimately that's what I'm looking for, is just to be able to get this beet harvested without me having to do anything. Because at the game stage I'm at now, it's like I hardly have any time. I'm constantly doing jobs, and I don't really want to have to be trailing to and from the field to unload the beet harvester. I did try using cosplay. The cosplay has a function where it can unload the harvester and send it to a destination, but for whatever reason it just got lost and it could never find the sugar mill. No matter where I placed the sugar mill, even if I put it right next to the field, it just didn't seem to be able to find it. Now I don't know if that's going to be the same in every map. Perhaps No Man's Land doesn't have any proper roads, seeing as there's no traffic. Perhaps it needs like a proper road network or something. So that's why I ended up going for auto drive, because I thought I know I can custom make my own routes. But up until sort of this stage of the game, I haven't really had the need to use auto drive. I've always been able to get away with everything else. So that corner's a little bit tight. I'll probably get rid of that tree when I come to do it properly and make that more of a like of an open junction than a little path that it is now. Right, so this is obviously going to go back. We know this bit works, so let's get back to the combine and see how that's doing. Alright, so the combine I think is now going to start doing this lands thing I was talking about, where it's going to try and find a route through the field. So obviously the first time it cuts in, it has no choice. It has to, you know, have its pipe over the crop. But we hit 60%, the pipe came out and it called the tractor, so that's pretty good. Not quite sure where the tractor's going to go for this one. It looks like it's just going to drive right the way across the crops. But I would say the harvester has to do another cut through the crop to be able to make the lands work properly. So I would have thought at this point now, there we go, exactly as I said, the tractor can pull out and get underneath it to unload. Oh, I see. So it's going to head up where the tractor is, but the tractor's probably not going to be able to get out the way. So we're going to have a standoff here. Right, so I will have to intervene, I think. So I think I just need to knock that off. I'm going to ruin some crops perhaps, but there's not much I can do about that. So I'll just turn it around and then I'll set it off again. See what happens. It says it's waiting for the call, but I would have thought by now it would already have had the call. Right, so the pipe's gone out. So I kind of want to see what this the tractor's going to spring. Oh yeah, the tractor's moving up now. But odd that the beet harvester is actually at 95%. It's not at 100%. I don't know what went on there, but obviously the tractor's going to go up to the sugar mill and come back to the field, so you just rejoin me when that happens and we'll see if there's been any changes. I'm hoping that once the sort of field gets a bit more established, then everything will start to work a bit better. Right, so the tractor's back from the sugar mill now, and we're at 55%. So any minute now we should be getting the call. Pipes out, the tractor should be firing up. There it goes. So we might actually get this harvester completely unloaded this time. It's got to its turn point, so the tractor's backed off to give it room, which is a bit unfortunate. So it looks as though it's going to cut in and make another of these lands, which is probably going to mean that we end up with a full harvester again. So I think what I could do... Oh, it's firing up. So it looks as though it's going to just drive on the crops. Is it going to come up alongside or is it going to go behind? See, this is the bit I don't understand why it does this. Perhaps if we were to change the setting to avoid fruit to no. Then it wouldn't really care about driving on the crop. Well, it hasn't really changed it, so who knows? Right, so it looks as though we're going to have another collision here. Perhaps doing land wasn't the best idea. Alright, so I'll just stop this and I'll just move it out of the way. And then we'll start it up again. See what happens. So the harvest at 95% and it's full, and the tractor's going to pull up alongside it. Perhaps if I use the other roper with the 4-meter header, not the 2.7, then you would have more room for it to pass. That might be a way forward. Or perhaps if I'd just gone up and down, then we would never have had this sort of collision, or these paths for it to collide along. Right, so we'll see what happens in the next one. Once the tractor's been unloaded. So we're now at 63%. The tractor's just returned from the sugar mill. It's going to its weight point. So hopefully as soon as the harvester realises it there, it'll put the call out and the tractor will move straight on up. And there it is on its way now. Right, so we might actually get a decent unload at this point. There's plenty of room, so there's no excuses for the tractor. Apart from it going the wrong way. You know, sometimes this game really makes you mad. I know it's such a great feature, how people write the software to be able to do this, but what the hell was that doing? Right, so this is probably our first successful unload, where it's just driven right up alongside it. Did a bit of showing off beforehand, but there you go. The harvester's nearly empty, so that's looking good. So yeah, this is just absolute madness. The tractor's trying to move out the way. Suppose when it gets free, the combine will get going again. There we go. So courseplay had stopped, probably because of the collision. So I've just started it off again. I don't think this is exactly where it was supposed to be, but so I think for now that's all I can do. We've had a go at it, and to a certain degree it works. It's certainly going to be a lot less time consuming than if I had to do everything, all the unloading manually myself. So perhaps by the time this, I mean, we're into August now, so it's quite a few episodes to go before I actually need to set this course up. So if you've got any help, any advice you can give me, get it in the comments, and perhaps we can revisit this and have another go. But I think I'm going to call it half a success. You know, it is harvesting, it is transporting, it is getting the sugar to the sugar mill. So that was kind of the goal, and I think we've sort of met it to a degree. So I'll just let this carry on, and I'll probably quit the game and have to restart again. So thank you all for watching. As I say, please help me, get in the comments and give me any advice, any tips. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye for now.